welcome everyone to our legislative recap session of our monthly virtual town hall installment. I'm State Senator Christina Pacione-Zayas, representing the Northwest side of Chicago. Really excited to be with you all tonight. Si necesita escuchar esta presentación en español, por favor, busca el globo en su pantalla ubicado en la esquina a la mano derecha. We've got a jam-packed schedule tonight, and I want to make sure we get through all of it because I really appreciate everybody tuning in at the, more or less dinner hour on a Wednesday night. And so if you can in the chat, introduce yourself and explain what your connection is to the 20th Legislative District. And also if you have questions throughout this presentation, please do not hesitate to put them in the chat, and we'll try to integrate them in, or we'll try to get it through at the end. So we're going to go over and start with some legislative wins. We've obviously closed up the legislative session as of April 8th. Legislators are catching their breath. As you know, this was a compressed session. It started at the very first week of January, and we went straight on through April 8th. We got all of our bills passed, and the budget just got signed yesterday. So we're going to go over that. And I'm going to give you some updates and some highlights, and we've got a special presentation on the second half of this hour that is going to continue our dialogue with the pillars of violence prevention and highlighting the resources that we have within the community. So, but I want to make sure I have one of my partners in peace in the General Assembly with me, and that is State Representative Will Guzzardi from the 39th District. I'm going to stop sharing right now, and I'm going to pin him on here because he has another commitment he needs to get to, but I wanted to make sure that he had an opportunity to speak with you all and share some of the exciting news that we have. So take it away.
Thanks. Good evening, Senator. Good evening, everyone. Will Guzzardi from the 39th District on the Northwest side, half of Senator Pacione-Zayas' Senate District. I'm coming to you from a waiting room for a panel that I'm supposed to be on that actually just started. So I'm going to be very, very brief and then run and jump on this panel. But I'm so happy to be here with the Senator and with all of you this evening just to report very quickly on the work that we have done in the legislature this year. As the Senator mentioned, we just passed a budget, a roughly $49 billion budget for the state of Illinois, with some really transformative investments that are going to reshape the way our state operates, and they're going to really make significant transformative investments in the lives of the people in our communities. And I'll let the Senator get into some of the more detailed sort of appropriations that are going to support some of the agencies that do the most important frontline work in our communities and across the city of Chicago. And I'll kind of maybe keep it at a high level here to talk about some of the big pieces that we moved in this budget making process. One of the most transformative pieces that we were able to pass this year was an expansion of the earned income tax credit. As you may know, this is a federal tax credit that's one of the most effective poverty fighting tools in the history of American policymaking. It's just direct cash assistance to low-income families that's scaled based on income and based on number of dependents. And Illinois has for many years now, has had a version of that tax credit, the state version that supplements the federal credit. So in this year's budget, we got a victory that we were fighting for a long time, which is both to expand the size of that credit, the state credit, to expand the scope of it, to include elders and to include young adults, and also to expand it to include ITIN filers, because up until now, it had only been people with social security numbers who've been eligible for that credit. And we know, of course, that people with ITIN numbers also work and also pay taxes and also are contributing members of society and also deserve our support and uplift as much as someone with a different kind of number attached to their name does. So this is a major, major victory that advocates have been fighting for. We've been fighting for a long time. I'm really proud of that win. We passed over roughly $1 billion of sort of direct assistance to families. Families of low and middle incomes are going to receive direct cash support for based on the number of dependents those families have. That support will be scaled, but there will be considerable sort of one-time direct cash relief going to our families, which so many people need and are struggling with high costs and inflation and rents going up and everything else. We put a freeze on the gas tax and a reduction on the grocery tax to make those staples of daily life more affordable for families. And we made a wide variety of investments that are going to support the communities that we represent and serve. The two that I'll pull out and highlight the sort of high level investments. One is that we reaffirmed our commitment of $250 million for Reimagine Public Safety, which is this sort of statewide holistic effort that we're undertaking to understand that the rise in instability and violence in our communities is rooted in the disruption that's been caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and the sort of the underlying fraying of the social safety net that pandemic has really revealed. And that if we're going to address crime and violence in a meaningful way, it's going to make our communities truly feel safe. It's not going to come from police and handcuffs and prisons so much as investments and security. And the true, like you think about the safest communities in our city, in our state, they're not the communities with the most police or the most incarceration or the most arrests. They're the communities with the most resources and the most security and the most investment. And so that's what we want to try to bring to our communities through this Reimagine Public Safety money. And that's a huge transformative resource that will be available to us. And I also partner very closely with the senator on securing $150 million to the Illinois Housing Development Authority for the construction of new affordable housing units across our state, because we know that another thing that's really tearing our communities apart is displacement due to a lack of affordability in housing. And that's been a fight that the senator and I have been really sort of laser focused on these last couple of years, and that I've been trying to work on throughout my time as in the legislature. And I'm now the chair of the Housing Committee in the Illinois House and have really tried to make this sort of front and center. So that investment is going to enable the construction of thousands and thousands of new affordable units across the state of Illinois in our communities and elsewhere in the state. So I'm really proud of the work we did in this budget. I think the big themes are, one, we sort of set our state on a good fiscal path going forward. We invested in paying down our debts, paying down our pension obligations, setting aside money in the rainy day funds, like fiscal responsibility, investments in our communities, in the resources our communities need: housing, security, safety, violence prevention, and then also sort of direct support to the families who are struggling to make it right now. So those three pillars, I think, really drove our budgeting process. And I think produced a very equitable, positive budget that's going to do a lot of good for a lot of people. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to let the senator take it into some more detail. And I'm sorry I won't be able to stick around to answer questions, but you're in very capable hands with her and her team. So thank you all so much for giving me a moment to speak with you. I appreciate the incredible work that everyone on this call is doing. And of course, our champion, the senator, for pulling this group together and making it happen. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Guzzardi. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen so that folks can kind of get the breakdown in terms of a little bit more detail with respect to what the representative just shared. Want to make sure that everybody can see the screen in its presentation mode. Is that thumbs up? Okay, fab. So just wanted to, like I said, we had quite a few wins in terms of the district, specifically wins that were led by the district. As you all know, I have policy roundtables that help to inform our legislative agenda from the ground up. I believe that the people closest to the problems have the best solutions, and our 5 roundtables, soon to be 6, because the environmental policy roundtable will be launching on Monday, really help to kind of shape legislation that specifically addressed some of our kind of chronic issues around education, health, housing, violence prevention, of course, and then small business workforce development. So this is just a few of the highlights in terms of the visuals, but I'm going to go through some more. So first and foremost, really excited, our Too Young to Test bill. You all may recall a couple virtual town halls back, I had some folks, and usually whenever I introduce bills in our virtual town halls, I ask the folks who are collaborating with me on it to share, to not only talk about the origin, but talk about the path of passage, and then ultimately how we're going to make sure that we have effective implementation. Too young to test basically prevents the Illinois State Board of Education from requiring, purchasing, or developing standardized assessments for the K through second grades. We know that the early childhood spectrum, those years are so fluid in terms of child development. Therefore, standardized tests are inappropriate from a developmental perspective to impose upon young children. And therefore, we are taking proactive measures to ensure that these types of tools are not used in the early grades. There's other ways that we can ensure that young children are developing and progressing, but this does allow for like developmental screenings to take place, our bilingual education assessments, our gifted assessments, our dyslexia assessments, all of that can still happen. And at the local level, if schools are implementing these standardized tests, that's fine. We just didn't want the state to be mandating it, purchasing it, or developing it. So yay for that in terms of putting some guardrails on early childhood. The second bill, the second and third bill, the paraprofessional qualification and the guidance counselors, that came right from our education roundtables. And essentially, our education folks wanted to make sure that we were doing things in proactive ways to address teacher vacancies. And what this does is lower the age, minimum age for individuals who want to pursue a career as a paraprofessional. These are your teaching assistants in our schools who help with small group instruction, who help with students who have individualized education plans, who assist teachers that we know more than ever are needed. But it also begins to address this vacancy issue because we have thousands of vacancies when it comes to paraprofessionals. And so lowering the age from 19 to 18 in the elementary years are going to help to streamline when we have high school students who are interested in pursuing a career in education. They can get right in as long as they meet the qualifications, but the age will no longer be the barrier. The guidance counselor piece is, we know that when it comes to post-secondary options, oftentimes people are pushed in a particular direction. A lot of the discussion has been around college, whether it's a 2-year or 4-year institution. What we want to lift up is careers in technical education. Not everybody wants to go to college. Not everybody is a good fit for college, but apprenticeships, trades, internships, externships, having that other pathway, and especially because we're going to have quite a few different workforce opportunities in the green energy space. I want to make sure that our high school counselors are aware of this career path and build it into their guidance with students. So that is now going to be lifted up in our high school counselors' requirements as they meet with students. And both of those, like I said, came from our education roundtable. Child savings account. This is super big because now we finally have some funding and some guidance around the data that we're collecting so we can make sure that families know about this opportunity. Starting January 1st, 2023, every single newborn in Illinois will have an opportunity for their family to open up a child savings account that can be used for educational purposes for, post-secondary, whether they're going to trade school, apprenticeship, or higher education. They will get a $50 seed deposit from the state of Illinois. And so want to make sure that folks know about that. We're going to be doing a big campaign to push that out. And should the fund have more money, we came up with some guidelines to make sure that families who are financially insecure will be able to get their hands on that money first. We also created this higher education benefits navigator. Now our 2- and 4-year institutions will have an individual designated in each institution that is a benefits navigator, from community resources to local resources to state resources to federal resources, a one-stop shop. If you've been in an institution of higher ed, they turn you every which way when you are trying to locate benefits, whether you're a veteran, whether you're looking for childcare, whether you're looking for food assistance, scholarships, any type of benefits. Now it's going to be centrally located in this one position to really assist and help students navigate and access those resources. They found that in Oregon, when they implemented this, students were able to get $1 million more in aggregate in terms of all the benefits they were able to secure because of this particular position. The next bill is the master record file. This was a bill that actually Representative Guzzardi introduced in the House, and then I carried it in the Senate. This is for individuals who are incarcerated and them being able to have access to what they call their master record as they're preparing for parole, as they're preparing for life after being incarcerated. It's important that they have access to their records so that they can begin to put together a resume. They can begin to put together their case to explain what types of programs they've participated in, if there's been any grievances, if there's been any specific information that will help them for life after incarceration. So now they have access to that because they didn't have access to that before. Their attorneys will have access to it once a year. The evidence-based funding formula, this is a game changer. This is something that we did in 2017 to level up the playing field with respect to how we fund our public schools. And so now we have a formula that's put together that takes into account the local contributions for school districts, the populations with specific demographics that have students that are eligible for free or reduced lunch, have students with individualized education plans, have students who are dual language learners, and having additional funds going to support them for their academic outcomes. And what we did is we kind of tweaked it a little bit because it is based on property tax values, and we used to do a 3-year average. But when you have such a volatile market, you're not able to quickly see how that market is changing, and that can change the amount that's coming from local resources, which then changes the amount in that's coming from the state. Essentially, what this is putting in place is some protections so that when we do have a dip in the market, school districts and the funding that they receive are not going to be affected as greatly. And then the last piece is we are establishing, this is building on the state designated cultural districts from last year, the Polish Milwaukee Avenue corridor. We know we have a large Polish population in Chicago, and it is incredibly important that we continue to acknowledge the diversity of our state. And so starting over by Sangamon on Milwaukee all the way to the village of Niles, we will have this corridor designated for the Polish community, and there'll be some markers and opportunities obviously to invest and stimulate economic development along that corridor. So those were the 8 bills that I chief sponsored during this session. There were a few resolutions that I want to lift up. One is again recognizing the importance of the post-secondary planning, having a career and technical education pathway. So adopting that and making sure that the State Board of Education lifts that up too in some of their promotions. The second, I was really proud about this because I didn't even know that we had a potential Native American reservation here in Illinois, the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation, back in 1829, when there was the Treaty of Chicago. There was some land that was recognized around DeKalb that belonged to Chief Chabanais, and the federal government illegally sold it but recognized it as a reservation, and therefore the heirs of Chief Chabanais are trying to reclaim that land, and we will have in our first ever reservation in the state of Illinois the reservation for the heirs of Chief Chabanais. And so basically what this resolution is doing is lifting up the legislation at the federal level, because they're the ones that control the establishments of reservations, to say that Illinois supports this. And this was a bipartisan effort. There was a Republican in the House that introduced the same resolution. And then of course, we just concluded the week of the young child, that first week, full week of April, and we have next the next week we have the Dia del Niño that we'll be celebrating on April 30th. And so I always want to make sure that folks understand the importance of the early years. There were several bills that I co-sponsored that I think are really important for you all to know. One is that if you have a family that loses a child, whether it's miscarriage or stillbirth, there is now afforded 10 days unpaid of leave from work, because historically that was not afforded to families when you have a loss of a child as a result of a miscarriage or stillborn. Extended family support services are for families that are involved in child welfare and ensuring that they have full access to the suite of state supports. So there's an extension of services, particularly for the Family First initiative, and having sort of an alignment with the federal work there. Non-citizen language. We still had in statute a language that is inappropriate and of course offensive, such as illegal alien. And we are removing that from all Illinois statute so that we can then replace that with non-citizen as the alternative, and also the more humane way to reference individuals who are undocumented. And then remote learning is guaranteed for our young people who are in juvenile detention centers, making sure that they can continue their education. So those pieces I was particularly proud of. As mentioned, before, the representative spoke to some of the kind of highlights in terms of the budget, as he spoke to all of the earned income tax credit, making that permanent for various populations that didn't have that access before, and it's refundable. It's not just a tax credit, you can actually get a refund on it. We've got a pause on the sales tax with groceries and also the tax with gas. We're going to have a sales tax holiday when it's time for back to school for supplies and for clothes. We were able to extend Medicaid coverage for undocumented folks 42 and over. You all may recall that last year, the past 2 years, we've been chipping away at this. This used to be for 65, it used to not exist 2 years ago. Then it became for 65 and older, and then it became for 55 and older, and we keep on lowering it and lowering it. So we're ensuring that healthcare coverage is available for individuals who are undocumented, because we know that healthcare is a human right and it should be for all. As he mentioned before, there was money that went to our rainy day fund as well as our pension fund. We put $500 million more in our pension obligations to reduce that liability. And then there was a $50 million increase for domestic violence services. So that's going to be huge for our communities as well. Now, here's the real good news I'm super excited about with respect to all of the youth and education investments. We had over $600 million invested in early childhood. Early intervention, the funding there got restored because last year it was cut by $7 million. So we're bringing that money back online. We have increases for home visiting, and we had increases for the early childhood block grant. As you all know, I am an early childhood advocate. When we make investments in those early years, we know that it pays dividends for the whole human trajectory. We had an increase with Teen Reach. We also had an increase with need-based higher education scholarships, such as the MAP grant, $122 million. It is now set up so that anybody who meets the income eligibility for the MAP grant will now get it. Nobody will be on waiting lists anymore. There's an extra $460 million going towards our evidence-based funding formula that I just explained. $12 million for our regional offices of education. These are sort of hubs outside of Chicago that help to kind of coordinate the training, the licensure, all the compliance issues in school districts outside of Chicago. There was an increase of $16 million for homeless prevention and homeless youth services. As I mentioned before, the child savings account seed deposits, $2.5 million is going towards that. And then the big news, I'm so excited about this, violence prevention investments for Latino communities across the state, $25 million. And I am pleased to report that over $8 million is coming to the northwest side of Chicago in the form of investments for youth employment, after school programs, street outreach intervention, returning residents and making sure that they are hooked up in all the ways they need to so that they can be welcomed back to the community and not have to be a recidivism rate, as well as mental and behavioral health. I'm super excited about these investments. It truly is a testament that when the Latino Caucus is able to quantify the issues and show the data and really press upon folks the importance of investing, these are the results that we get. So I'm super excited about that. So I'm going to stop right there because the second half of this virtual town hall is to kind of go deep into what I had explained with respect to the past couple months, right? When we talk about violence prevention, it's not a silver bullet in terms of how we address violence prevention. We have to tackle the root causes. We have to be deliberate in our investments. We have to support our community-based organizations who are really the safety net of our communities. And so each month I have been inviting members of our community and members of state and state organizations, as well as state agencies and city agencies, to be able to share with us the resources that are available. The first month we focused on street outreach intervention. The second month we focused on domestic violence. This month we are going to go deeper into mental and behavioral health, as well as the youth employment. So these are the pillars to violence prevention, and I want to make sure that folks know about it. And the first person I'm going to ask to come up and share with us is Angela Saldeño from the Kedzie Center. She is the executive director, and she's going to give us a little bit of a breakdown with respect to what the Kedzie Center does, which is an incredibly critical resource for our community. And I'm going to share my slides because I know she's got some critical information for us here. So let me get us all set up here. There we go. Take it away. You're muted. Sorry.
Never fails. Okay. Thank you for having me and for this opportunity to talk about the Kedzie Center. So the Kedzie Center is the first community-funded mental health center in the city of Chicago, which means that people in the area voted to raise their property taxes so they could have their own community mental health center. So this allows them to have a voice in the services that we render. And the Kedzie Center covers Albany Park, Irving Park, North Park, and Saguenash. So 131,000 residents. Next slide, please. So our mission, of course, is to increase access to culturally informed, trauma-informed, quality mental health care. And we do that by making sure that in addition to providing services at the clinic, we're also very active in the community. So each of those red balloons represents a school or a senior facility or someone we partner with to make sure that we're reaching the homeless, we're reaching people who are otherwise difficult to reach. They don't necessarily come into the office, because we strongly believe that building people's mental health means building community wellness as well. Next slide, please. So what we offer is a full range of clinical services. So there's individual therapy for all ages, family and couples therapy, group therapy, that includes art therapy and yoga, parent education, parent workshops at local schools, community conversations about everything that is mental health related. So it could be anything from racial discrimination to dealing with grief and loss, to dealing with community safety. All of these services are available in English and Spanish. And a large part of what we try to do is offer community education with the understanding that not everybody is ready to start therapy right away, but we have a ton of other services that people can participate in, get to know us, build a relationship. So we strongly encourage parents to take advantage of the workshops and the play groups and all of those offerings. So this is one of our we offer 2 parent programs. One of them is Abriendo Puertas, a bilingual evidence-based program for parents of children 0 to 5. And the other one is an interactive play group called Little Explorers. We have offered this with on-site at schools, all in Spanish, bilingually with refugees. The next slide is one of our groups that we ran with the Rohingya community in partnership with World Relief. And so that play group is interactive. It's meant to focus on the development of the child, but also the attachment between the parent and child. Gives us an opportunity to assess how young children are doing, what that parent-child bond is like, and if there are things that we can do to enhance that, and the mental health of the parent as well. And these are all offered at no cost. So one of the other beauties of the model of our center is that we can see people for as long as they need to be seen, and regardless of their ability to pay. So 33% of our clients, anywhere from 33 to 36%, are uninsured, but hopefully that's going to change because we plan on signing up a lot of people over the next few months. But we also try to aim our programs toward the needs of our community. So we were aware that there were a lot of DACA and undocumented students in our area. This program is a storytelling program that we offer with Second Story. It comes with a stipend, so college students and high school students can earn up to $250 or $300 for participating in this program, where they get to shape their own narrative. And they work with a therapist and a storyteller. We've offered 4 cycles. It's been a very promising program. We also do art therapy in our senior homes. Every senior home is different, but this is one of the ones in North River. Next slide. We offer youth mental health first aid, and we'll be offering it again soon to help people in the community identify when we're seeing mental health symptoms in young people, how to make referrals, how to talk to them, and how to make sure that they're getting to the right people. Typically during the school year, we offer after-school art programs and yoga. We've also had art therapy and a circle for survivors of gun violence. So we work with Israel's Gifts of Hope, and we have a number of parents who've lost children to violence. And so part of the program, and we partner with our acute outreach program to make sure that we are always able to see people in acute need immediately. So even if they're not ready for therapy, they might be ready to join the circle. They might be ready for just some accompaniment or case management. We want them to know sooner than later that services are available. And when they're ready for individual or family therapy, that's available to them as well. And as I said earlier, it's been important for us to be active in the community, engaged in the community. So we have lots of partners and want to make sure that we're showing up around issues of community safety and wellness and violence prevention. And everything that we do that strengthens families, that strengthens youth and community engagement is all violence prevention. So I wanted to make sure we were anchoring how we look at it. And these are examples that we have conversations with stakeholders in the community, police officers, educators, administrators. We try to bring people together to have these conversations, and sometimes difficult conversations, but it's important. So this is a stakeholder one. The next one, we also invite practitioners to come in and talk about their concerns about trauma, and we bring in expert practitioners who can share a wealth of information with them. So it's been important for us to also have a network of professionals that can expand and enhance the services we offer our community. And we're pleased to be opening up a clinic in Logan Square, Avondale, and Hermosa. So we have already, we're in the process of searching for a location. We have some promising options, but we haven't found a place yet. So we are building our readiness, like starting to build our team, planning, but we just need a location. We invite you to look at our website, follow us on Facebook, Twitter. And on the next slide, the final slide, just to give you an idea, in 7 years, we saw over 23,000 people for clinical sessions. We offered 23,000 clinical sessions, 17,000 sessions in the community, 1,200 psychiatric sessions, over 190 mental health workshops, saw over 2,600 clients and offered over 100 groups. And we have a very small team. I have 6 clinicians. We train graduate students, so we have a handful of those. because we're really committed to providing community mental health care that is accessible to people in their own communities in the languages they speak, and that has accessible hours and a place where people feel welcome and not stigmatized. So that is the Kedzie Center in a nutshell, and we'll be pleased to let you know when Logan Square opens, when we have a location and a name. Thanks so much. I don't know if anyone had any questions.
Thank you. Really appreciate it, Angela. I'm gonna move us along. So if people have questions, comments, please put them in the chat. And you have the contact information, and I'm going to turn it over to Evelyn Rodriguez and Melanie Hernandez, who are going to speak about Rincon Family Services, the living room. They're both recovery specialists, and talk about another valuable resource in our community for mental and behavioral health.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us here. My name is Evelyn Rodriguez. I am with Rincon Family Services, also a nonprofit organization. I am with the Living Room program there. Also, we like the Kedzie Center, which I love very much. So, by the way, we also provide some source of, you could say, therapy. Basically, we as the RSS, I'm a recovery support specialist, like I said, us as RSS, we actually got this role because of our life learned experiences, the things that we've been through in life, the trauma we've been through in life. So therefore, when people actually come to us, we could some way connect with them, right? And just give them that type of support and whatever it is that they need. We are located at 3710 North Kedzie. We're open from Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I also wanted to let Melanie talk for a little bit. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. Right now, I am a little sick. So if I sound funny, let me know. If you don't understand me, please let me know as well, because I've been coughing and I'm a little stuffy. So I apologize for that.
Hi, my name is Melanie Hernandez, and I'm also a RSS, one of the newer recovery support specialists. And basically just going off of what Evelyn said, we are an organization and a part of an organization, a program where people who are going through a mental health crisis can come to us and speak about what it is that they're going through if they do not want to go to an emergency room. So basically, we kind of divert from that. Some people aren't comfortable going to an emergency room. Some people don't feel comfortable with calling law enforcement. If they're going through something mentally, they might need somebody to speak to. And like Evelyn said, as recovery support specialists, we have the lived experience. So sometimes folks feel more comfortable speaking to us because we do connect in a sense. We also have different rooms in the living room. And it's basically why it's called the living room, because everybody who comes in is a guest. We have a non-clinical approach. So nobody comes in, nobody who comes in is a patient or a client. They're a guest. And they're pretty much, welcome at no cost. They don't need to make an appointment. They can just walk in. So we have different rooms. Usually we take them into the private room if, when they first come in, they're a newer person. The setting is very calm, and it's usually where we do our paperwork, take their information, and just speak about whatever it is they're going through. We have a gaming room if, sometimes younger guests, it is 18 and over, but younger guests will like to play a game. It's a way to relieve some stress. So we do have a gaming room. We also have an art therapy room. A lot of guests like to express themselves through art, and we have all types of supplies and stuff for them to do that. We also have a library. People like to relieve stress through reading. It's also where sometimes we'll sit down and help people with applications if they need help with certain types of applications. And we have a selection of books for them to read. We also have a meditation room, a very beautiful room for any guest who wants to meditate. Some guests will pray in there. Some guests just need a nap. They'll take a nap in there. Of course, we check on them, make sure everything's okay. And then we also have like the open setting, like the actual living room where, you know, some guests don't like to be locked in a room. They'll sit in that area. And it's just a very calm setting. We'll ask them if they need water, if they need refreshments. We have snacks and stuff like that on hand. And the goal is to provide them with, you know, support. We're there for support. We also have different resources on hand if there are, you know, certain things that are causing them to distress, and we can take that off of them by helping them look for housing or helping them with, if it is domestic violence. I'm also a domestic violence advocate. So jobs, if they need, you know, to
Or just a
set doctor's
conversation.
appointment,
Yes,
right?
or just a
Just
conversation. Yes.
So it can be an array of things. And we also have a mental health professional on hand who will do assessments when they first come in. And that's pretty much what we do.
Anybody has questions?
Thank you. If folks can put questions or comments in the chat box,
Absolutely.
and we will address them. Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate you all and the work that you do and the service that you are providing for our community. It is so critical, and it means the world, particularly because of your lived experience, particularly because of the cultural congruence that you all are providing. It really helps to destigmatize mental and behavioral health. And so thank you again for sharing that. I am going
Thank
to
you.
move us along because now we're going to get into the youth employment piece. And what I want to make sure that folks know about as well is, you all may recall the past couple months or actually since the past year, I've been trying to launch a youth council. And I'm super excited that we are finally going to go ahead and do that. And we have a link that is going to be dropped in the chat for if you know of any young people that live within the district. I am looking to form a council of at least 11 that can represent the 11 wards within the district. And from the ages of 15 to 18, we have a $500 stipend for the young people that serve on my council, to make sure that I am accountable to young people, that I'm making sure that I am sharing with young people the experience of being a legislator, but then also for us to co-create some solutions that are anchored in the young person's experience. And so want to make sure that you all are aware of that, because the next presentation is about youth employment, because after they go through our youth council, which is going to launch on May 7th, and it'll go until June 11th, we're going to meet for a series of meetings on Saturdays. I'm also going to be asking them to apply to One Summer Chicago so that they can continue to work within our office throughout the summer, and again, continue to build their capacity and leadership, because my objective is for them to get me out of a job. They need to take my job. And so I'm investing in them right now so that they know exactly what this job entails, and they can see it and feel it and experience it. And so with that, I want to invite my friends from the Department of Family and Support Services to share and present their information. And after that is going to come April Curtis Rivera, who is our co-chair of our Violence Prevention Collaborative, but she's also the Chief Strategy Officer for Aspira. She's going to talk more specifically about how that's going to operate within the context of the community. But I believe, Evelyn, are you the presenter next?
It's actually Frankie Shipman.
I'm sorry.
We're tag teaming here. We're the Trinity, mamita. We are the Trinity.
Appreciate it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pin Frankie, and then Frankie, you can take it away.
Okay, thanks. Can you see my slides?
Not yet.
Okay. Let's do it this way. Going to. Can you see them now? Okay, let's see. All right. Let me know if that works.
There we
better.
go. That's
All right,
it.
wonderful. Okay, thanks. So thanks for introducing me, Senator. I am Frankie Shipman-Amuo. I am the Managing Deputy Commissioner of Programs for Department of Family and Support Services. We also have on the call Evelyn Benitez. She is the front runner when it comes to One Summer Chicago. She is our youth service coordinator. And then we also have Jonathan Weber, our Senior Director of Operations. And we are working to promote One Summer Chicago for our city's youth. Before I get into One Summer Chicago specifically, many of you may be asking, okay, what's the difference between DFSS and other programs, or excuse me, other agencies? And I really want to emphasize that we are the largest human service organization here in the city. You may have heard of DFSS without knowing that it was a specific DFSS program. We promote 7 different programs throughout the city, and our goal is to empower people to thrive. We're connectors. We are connecting individuals to important human services. We're connecting community-based organizations to other organizations, and we're funding them. We fund over 350 community-based organizations, which totals over 1,600 grants. And we have successfully helped over 400,000 residents of Chicago. So the work we do is very important. It's very expansive. So if you all hear of children's services or homeless services, human services, chances are DFSS is funding that program. And if you all do have any questions about these types of services, the best place to call is 311. They can get you connected to these services. But what we really want to focus on tonight are youth services. We have a bunch of youth services, and one in particular, which is one that we're very proud of, is One Summer Chicago. We're really talking about connecting youth to employment. This is something that the mayor is very intent on. This started in 2014, and it keeps getting better and better every year. So I'm going to let my colleague describe it a little bit more, but just to give you an overview of what she's about to talk about, we really have 3 items that we're going to address. First is summer youth employment, and this is really what a lot of people think about when they're thinking about One Summer Chicago. It's getting those 16 to 24-year-old youth connected to those jobs, getting that employment. And then next we have Chicagobility, which is important for those youth that aren't quite at the employment age, but it's preparing them. It's training, it's exposure to different important lessons. And that's for the youth 14 to 15. And then finally, we have a project-based, a service project-based program, which is Chicago Youth Service Corps. And that was started because of the pandemic. Youth were feeling isolated. And it started very limited, in a limited capacity, and now it's expanded to be year-round. We are currently accepting applications for these programs. We encourage youth to apply, and my colleague Evelyn is going to tell you about how you can get these youth connected to these programs.
Thank you so much, Frankie. Good evening, everyone. And so as we mentioned, we are in the midst of recruiting young people for One Summer Chicago. And Senator, I appreciate your passion and commitment to youth in the 20th district. But of course, like, we are truly empowering all young people in the city of Chicago. And so just to give folks an idea of what the programs are, we're connected to different work sites, be it in government, in departments such as the senator's office, to working at some of our aldermanic offices, to even locations like Walgreens, Starbucks, and your typical day camps. The exciting thing that I need to highlight is that this year we are paying $15 an hour. So in previous years, we used to pay $8.25. So if anyone was familiar with our program or even the state's program, there was this constant, we really need to prepare our young people and have them employed. And so over the years, as we were looking at the minimum wage ordinances and the different legislative changes, we really advocated. And this year we are proud to announce that in One Summer Chicago, specifically through our Department of Family and Support Services delegate agencies, young people that participate in our Summer Youth Employment Program and in our Chicago Youth Service Corps program because those programs are wage-based, will pay young people $15 an hour. Now, for our young people in Chicago Ability, which is our 14 and 15-year-olds, that program will pay $75 a week, which will allow the youth to make $450. So although it's not the $15 yet, but at least it's an opportunity for our young people to really hone their skills, really be prepared and explore the different career pathways and opportunities so that then they would be ready for SYP, as we refer to the program, or CYSC. Next slide, please. And our Chicago Youth Service Corps, we're really excited about this one as well, because this is a year-round opportunity. And so, as Frankie mentioned, this program was developed during the pandemic. And really, there was this call to action for our young people, as well as our delegate agencies who we partner with. And so the program started off as a 6-week initiative, 20 hours a week, in alignment with One Summer Chicago. But with the city's creative funding and the mayor's call to action to see the real needs that youth were sharing about projects that were important to them, such as food insecurities, housing issues, gun violence. These are some really serious topics that young people were concerned about and discussing. So we had the opportunities to expand the program. I am proud to say that Aspira was one of our partners last year in incorporating such projects in the community because the need was there. And so as we were going through our RFP process and through funding through the American Rescue Plan, we have grown this program from a 6-week to a 12-week to now a 40-week program. So we're really excited to announce that we have agencies. There's 20 programs around the city, and Aspira is one of them that will definitely provide this program throughout the year. It will start at the same time as One Summer Chicago. There is a separate application, although if young people go to onesummerchicago.org, there is a section for Chicago Youth Service Corps, but also young people can go apply here at cysc.myfuture.org. So take it away, Frankie, and thank you very much. If you have questions, folks, please drop it in the chat. I'll be here all night.
Thanks, Evelyn. We would be remiss if we didn't focus on other summer projects that other city agencies are offering. The first we wanted to highlight is under the One Summer Chicago arm, and that is quite a few opportunities. We have with the City Colleges of Chicago, STEAM ambassadors. It's really focusing on, college student mentoring, also trying to engage middle schoolers in STEAM programs. So if you have questions about that, the contact information is right there for who to contact. Also with the Chicago Police Department, they have something called the Youth District Advisory Council, or YDAC. They're really trying to foster a better relationship between youth and police. And so if you are interested in participating in that, you have the contact information there. Lavisha Tiger Williams is that person to contact. And then finally, at City Colleges of Chicago, they're trying to employ 150 interns this summer. So if you're interested in more internship opportunities, please email Elvis Guzman. You can see his contact information below as well. The next opportunity I wanted to point out is with the Chicago Park District. So if you go to chicagoparkdistrict.com/jobs, you will see applications for junior laborers, for recreation leaders, and for lifeguards. They are trying to employ over 2,000 youth this summer. So we really wanted to encourage you to check out the Chicago Park District youth jobs as well. So again, that's chicagoparkdistrict.com/jobs. And then finally, the Chicago Department of Transportation is also offering employment this summer. They have a 6-week program, and the youth that they're targeting are 16 to 19-year-olds. Their focus is all about building natural and public spaces, making them more accessible, making them better for the city. So if you know any youth that are interested in this, have them go to greencorpschicago.org. That's GREENCORPS Chicago.org and apply for that. Again, that's a 6-week program for ages 16 to 19. We really wanted to leave our contact information here when it comes to getting on social media. We always have opportunities that we're posting in LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Please follow us on this. If you want to be connected to those opportunities, we strongly encourage it. And like Evelyn said, if you do have questions, put them in the chat. We're happy to answer them. That is all that I have. So I am going to pass it back to the senator. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I am going to hand it over to April Rivera Curtis so that she can share a little bit more about how this is going to break down within the community. Thank you all so much for coming. Yes, we are promoting for the entire city, but you know I gotta stomp for my district. So we are going to make sure we fill up those 150 slots that are allocated for the Northwest side. So thank you all for the partnership and for joining us tonight.
I just want to confirm, thank you, Senator, that you can see a screen that says Aspida Works.
Yes.
Okay, great. This is what happens when you're working on 3 screens. All right, I'm going to highlight tonight our Aspida Works program, which is also a subset of our Aspida Cares program. As you heard today, I'm not going to go into detail of the different programs that Evelyn so graciously spoke about, but just highlight real quick what it meant for us here at Aspida. Through this One Summer Chicago opportunity, this summer in 2022, we will be offering to the Northwest community 100 jobs through various locations and programs. That's through the SYAP program. Last summer in 2021, we reached out to 800 youth and we're able to place 111 young people at 34 different work sites and we provided a hybrid model of programs for the youth to participate in entrepreneurship. We also, as Evelyn stated, participated in the CYSC program, finding and giving back to our community, both in the summer and the fall program. All of our 27 groups presented their own versions of their capstones, whether they were in the CYSC program or not. We took that model a step further for all programs and all sites to be able to present. And we gave them a lift off at the end as well. They were really much appreciative. This gave the opportunity for the young people to reconnect after being on a hiatus with COVID and be able to be in the community and connect us with each other. Here are some of our work sites, our partners that were with us last summer. We have actually, during this process, have tripled the amount of partners. So we have over 90 sites that are willing to take young people this summer. And so we have almost a 1-to-1 ratio, although some sites have requested already 2 to 5 young people. So we're really excited about that. Some of our entrepreneurship programs, our young people went through learning the steps of setting up their own cosmetology business, to which at the end of the summer, they trained and worked with younger kids in our public schools and showed them how to create their own lip gloss, do makeups, and they went to nursing homes to do pedicures and manicures for our elderly and gave back. And at the end, the young women and young men were able to sell their products as well in our pop-up sessions across the city. Giving back to our cultural heritage and roots, many of our young people signed up to do bomba and plena and gave back and presented all throughout the city as well. This has been a historical program for us, and we give great shout outs to Ivelisse. She's amazing, and the work that she does with our young people, teaching them not only about their culture, their past, their present, and their future of how they need to pay it forward. We had a great partnership with the Puerto Rican Police Association, where young people who ironically started in our restorative justice circles almost 4 years ago wound up becoming interns for the Puerto Rican Police Association and helped give back throughout the whole summer. They gave for food pantries, they walked the streets around mediation to show in partnership with our young people and our officers. You heard from tonight from Rincon Family Services. We had young people placed at Rincon Family Services. We're excited that there'll be another partner this summer. Many of our young people came back from their sites wanting to choose those career paths, and that's the purpose of the One Summer Chicago opportunities. Would they do this again? They absolutely would, which is why we wrote to make sure that we were a partner. And this summer, we're able to offer through a variety, 160 per positions. So if you're interested in being able to have youth come to your work sites and to be engaged in your organizations, whether you are a mom and pop organization or a nonprofit organization or for-profit, we're here to place young people within your organizations. You can reach out to us to become a site host, and then we will make sure that we go through the process. And I said we had a variety of 160 positions. Through the 160 positions, 100 of that is through the SYEP, 40 of that is through the CYSC, and 20 of that is through the 14, 15-year-old, which is huge for us, for Aspida. This is the first time we've gotten the 14, 15-year-olds, and we've had a great interest over the years. I've always had to ask other people to give us slots, so I'm excited that we have our own slots. You saw the websites that were up, and this is our Aspida Cares program. It was spoken about earlier what the young people are going to go through. Really more so excited about, if you can look closely, you'll see our senator in there. She came out for our turkey giveaway with our young people. They kept her busy. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at osc@aspidail.org. We are very thankful. And I want to highlight our mentoring program. It's our give back. We want to close with that. One thing we do is teach all of our young people about giving back, but they also need people that are pouring into them in their lives. And so if you are aware and know of people who would like to be a mentor and match with our young people as they're going through our work programs, and the commitment is a year round beyond the work program, we would love to have you sign up as a mentor to give back. So we thank you. We appreciate you. And that's my time.
All right, thank you so much, April. All of this, like I said, is really about helping to get the word out about, what are the pillars for violence prevention, and how are we as a community across our city, across our state, addressing these root causes of violence, everything having to do from mental and behavioral health, to domestic violence, to youth employment, to youth leadership opportunities, to housing. I can't wait to, kind of break down the housing stuff that we've been working on as well. But I'm going to just close us out and leave in the chat and remind folks of a couple events that are happening at the district. Next Friday, April 29th, from 3 to 6 p.m. we have a open house at our district office, 3140 West Montrose. That's at the corner of Montrose and Kedzie. We're going to be right in front. We have a food truck. We're going to have all kinds of giveaways, but it's an opportunity for us to convivir. We want to see our community. We want our folks to come out. We want people to get to know each other. I also am going to be recognizing all of our policy roundtable members who have helped me build this legislative agenda and execute it, as well as we have some gubernatorial appointees who live right in our district. So I really want to elevate the talent that is inherent in our district. And of course, I'd love for you all to join and meet up with us. And so it would be great to have you. The last thing I want to leave you all with is that we are still in a pandemic. And if you have not received your COVID-19 vaccine or booster, we have pop-up clinic in our office every Tuesday, and next Tuesday from 12 to 5 p.m. in our office is the last one of this month. We have everything for 5 and over, including the booster for children. So you can come on through, no appointment needed, just walk in. It can be easy, simple. So definitely want to make sure that you all know about that. And then of course, the last piece is if you have any young people that you want to recommend to the Youth Council. I want to thank all our guests tonight. Thank you all for staying with us longer than 7 o'clock. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to being in touch with you all. This is going to conclude our monthly virtual town hall series. I usually do this when we're in the spring legislative session. And usually the next one that I do that's talking about legislation will be after the veto session, which will take place in November. But I may have a few town halls in between talking about different opportunities and making sure that you all are aware of the resources. So have a beautiful evening, a safe spring and summer, and I look forward to seeing you within the district. Take care.